So welcome everyone. So my name's Vince, and I'm an FSE that covers mostly Biamp products with Symco. I also have on with me today Terrence McCarron, who is also an FSE with Symco. I'm based out of the Pennsylvania area. He's based up out of the Boston area. And we're two of your contacts to reach out to at Symco with anything Biamp. So we're here. We're going to start going over some updates that came out of Infocom for Biamp. Today we're covering the Voltera amplifier and some new speakers. So we're just going to jump right in. Okay. So again, these are some of the updates from Infocom. So first off, amplifiers. Biamp has been making amplifiers for 46 years. They're definitely not new to that part of the industry. It's literally part of the name, right? I mean, they started out making guitar amplifiers out of a garage. Now, we've come a long way since then. We already make a whole bunch of amplifiers. What you're seeing up here is the first column there are a bunch of amplifiers that we have that are, based on AVB. The next two columns are actually, Class D analog amplifiers, with the exception of the ALC amps, which are actually also Dante. And then the fourth column there are all the amplifiers that we make for Voltera, right? Double power supplies, redundant automatic failover. Again, very much been in the amplifier business since the inception. And we can cover all kinds of requirements already today. We have our PoE amps that go up in the ceiling that, with 3 watts of per channel and 50 watts of burst. We have, 2 times 3200 watts a channel in our ALC line. So we pretty much cover the gamut. But it still left some openings in what's in the market today. So we're glad to announce that we have some new amplifiers that are already shipping. These were actually announced at ISE and were already shipping by Infocom. Little backstory here. There's a famous engineer named Klaus, who once upon a time worked for PowerSoft, then went to Lab Gruppen, and about a year ago, him and some other engineers came over to Biamp. So Biamp has a new amplifier design team based out of Sweden. And this is just the first product coming out of that team. So the new amplifier is called Voltera. It comes in 4 different models. There's a 300.2, a 300.4, a 600.2, and a 600.4. So that's 300 watts across 2 channels, 600 watts across 4 channels. 300 watts across 4 channels, 600 across 2 or 600 across 4. Kind of a big deal. It's a nice small form factor amplifier. So it's 1 RU high, half RU deep. Wide. 1 RU high, half RU deep, wide. Yeah. Half RU wide, 1 RU high. Same size as our 460H, but with a lot more power. It's meant to be installed wherever you need it. So it has the ability to be installed in a rack, or you can install it under a table, in a credenza, behind a display on a wall. What's unique about here is each channel can be driven individually, both by impedance and by wattage. So it's actually asymmetrical, so we can distribute power, across different channels unequally when we need to. Big advantage of this over doing bridging is that we don't give up a channel, right? So we stay 4 channels, we can do up to double the default wattage out of a channel and still have power left, right? So we can still use all 4 channels. That makes a big difference in a lot of our designs, because sometimes we do need a lot of power for certain channels, but there may be somewhere we need 20 or 30 watts for a couple of speakers. This, would leave enough to cover that and not add the addition of an amplifier. It has already met the requirements to be Energy Star rated. So it's actually in the lab now, getting certifications. So that will be certified soon. Now, again, this is a very simple amplifier. It's a, analog in Class D amplifier. There's, excuse me, there's no Ethernet port. There's no DSP built into it, right? It is just an amplifier, but it has some really, really cool features built into it. And again, none of this done with software. Everything's done by simple dip switches or knobs on the back of the unit. So on a per channel basis, we can apply a 70 hertz high pass filter. We can decide whether that channel is going to be 100 volt, 70 volt, 8 ohm, or 4 ohm. We then have a gain control knob, which this is part of where that asymmetrical part comes in. I can take any one channel, and by setting the gain to +3, right, audio and +3, that doubles the level. So we could double the output. So if I have a 600.4 amplifier, the default would be 150 per channel. But if I take channel 1 and I put it to +3, I can now get 300 watts off of channel 1, right? And still leaving 300 watts across the other 3 channels, right? So again, very, very advantageous to be able to do that. We also have if you're doing a 4-channel amp, you have 4 connections. 2-channel amp, you have 2 connections for a linear 10K pot, which can be used to do a volume control for their respective channels. Now, even though it is a, unconnected, shall we say, device, we still do care about knowing what's going on with it and have some sorts of control. So what we've done is we've used the GPIO ports to achieve this. So one GPIO port would allow you to turn the amplifier on and off. Another GPIO port is going to tell you the health of the amplifier, right? Whether you have a shorted channel, whether it's in a failed state, or that it's good. And then there's a third GPIO. So if you're using this amplifier with just a little preamp in front of it for background music, but you're in a building where the fire alarm system says everything needs to be muted based on the fire alarm, we actually decide to make sure we're even supporting that within the amplifier. So you have a GPIO pin that would just automatically mute all the channels to give you a nice, easy form of control to hit that safety mute. An application for an amplifier like this is an idea of doing a bar and restaurant. So, we kind of want to rock the bar a little bit. So we got EXS6s hung up over there with a 10-inch stub. And then on the dining side, we want some background music. So over there we have, some ceiling speakers and, again, a sub, but, rated at tapped at 30 watts as opposed to 160 watts, right? So again, very different power distribution, but all coming off the same amplifier. So in the bar, we end up using a total of 460 watts. In the dining area, we're using 140 watts. But then if you look at the individual sides, in the bar, we're sending 160 watts to the wall speakers, and we're sending 300 watts to the sub. The 300 watts to the sub is 8 ohm, and the 160 watts is 70 volt, right? And then the same thing on the dinner side. We got, 70 volt for the ceiling speakers, and then low impedance for the 10-inch sub. So again, we were able to pull that off, one amplifier, unequal distribution, different loads, right? Very, very flexible. Again, for mounting, everything comes in the box. So whether you're going to take this thing and mount it in a rack, behind display, under a credenza, there's a set of tabs that'll come on it that you can screw to the bottom of it and now screw it, to the wall or underneath the shelf. It also comes with a set of ears, so it can be mounted by itself, right? So the one long side and then the short side. If you buy 2 of them, you can use the 2 short sides and you actually put them side by side. They vent front to back, right? So again, very versatile, even in installation. One of the best parts about this is it's priced very well for everything you're getting out of it. So the 4-channel amplifier is $1,700 list. And then the 300.2 is $1,000 list. Now, that's great for the amplifier, very robust sound amplifier, very flexible. That's really good. That's part of the product. But in Biamp's typical fashion, we also want to make sure that our products are very easy to integrate into our environment. So when it comes to the DSP side, in Tessera software, we have this block that you can drop in now. So if you go to, this exists today, since the amplifier is already shipping. If you go to the latest software and you go to your drop-in devices and you go to amplifiers, there's already a Voltera option. And when you drop it in, you can pick what model it is. When you open the block, this is what you'll see. And what happens here is if I click on this file folder section here, it'll open up a list. And I'll actually, I think I have a screenshot of this. Oh, I do. It'll actually open up a list of speakers. Now, along with our speakers, this is actually an early shot of the software. The next release of Tesera software will not only have our database of speakers in it already, you can actually custom make your own profiles for whatever speakers you're going to use, right? So you'll be able to put the limiters in, you'll be able to do the EQs on them. You can import FIR filters and apply them to it so that, again, you have this database of speakers that you use. You come here, you pick the speaker, you drop it in. Once you do that, we're setting up the whole processing chain. So we're dropping in the FIR filters for the speakers. We're also adjusting the output. So when you tie this block to an output, we're going to adjust the scaling of the output to make sure it matches what the amplifier wants. Right? All these little steps that you would typically have to do on your own are going to be automated through this block. Another thing the block will give you is if you hover over the power and Z sections there, it'll actually tell you how you need to set the amplifier, right? So it's showing you the impedance that you'd measure on the line there, but if you hover over, it's telling you that it wants to be set to 70 volt. And if I hover over the power, it's going to tell me what that knob wants to be set to, right? 0, 1, 2, 3, minus, whatever. So this is where you would get those settings that you're actually setting in the amplifier. Now, at the same time, it's showing you on the right the amount of power that you've used, right? So it keeps watch of what you're doing, what channels are handling what power, so you know where you're at with the amplifier. Now, along with that, because again, the amplifier itself is just a 2 or 4 channel amplifier, each in goes to each out, right? Very straightforward. But we want to treat it as if it's something more within the DSP. So here we have the ability to say a mixer, right? So maybe I just want to take one input to the block. I want to feed that to all the outputs because maybe, you know, they're just different zones or different types of speakers. We're going to get the same signal. So I have the ability to do that within here. Also, what I'll be able to do in here in the next version of software is if I make my own driver and it's a 2-way driver, when I drop it in as a 2-way, it'll actually say it's taking up like channel 3 and 4, where 3 would be the high end driver and 4 would be the low end driver. And then, you know, it all comes in again as one device so that you're treating them in common. So again, very versatile block, making the idea of using the amplifier and the speakers from our product line drag and drop from the get-go. But if you do want to make up your own drivers, because for some reason you don't love our speakers, and I happen to, you can go and create your own profiles for those, right? And then import them in and make it just as easy to use the DSP and amplifier. Something I found out today, oddly enough, is there's actually some features in this block that don't exist anywhere else in Tesera. So there's actually some limiters and stuff in here that actually work much better than what are standard in Tesera. They're more musically enabled as opposed to a hard cutoff. Again, so, you know, always enhancements to the platform. Additional features of the amplifier. It'll automatically go into standby after 20 minutes. Once it sees an input level above -60, it'll turn back on. It takes about 800 milliseconds to spin up. And that's kind of the Voltera amplifier. Again, very, very flexible amplifier at a really good price point. Designed from, you know, a really good back set of DNA. So again, a really good product.
Then we had a good question.
Sure.
Sorry, we had a great question from Andy. He's asking, these amp blocks feed line level outs on the Tesera DSP to the amps.
Correct.
That is correct.
Correct. And when you make that attachment, it's actually automatically going to set up the output stage to match that to what the amplifier needs, you know, the whole scaling. So that automatically be tied to the block. So what actually happens is you have to tie an output block to that. That's the only thing it will allow you to tie to, is to an output block. But it will make the physical tie to make those adjustments as well. So kind of something new in Tessera as well. But yes, it's again, it's an analog amplifier. You don't need to use Tessera with it. You could use this with our pre-zone 2 preamp. You could use this with, name your source, right? It's just an analog amplifier. But again, by using it with Tessera, this block being designed to work with, it just makes it very, very seamless. Yeah, and again, anybody has any questions, please drop them in the chat. Terrence is keep an eye on that. I'm now going to jump into speakers. So speakers is a big business, and up until recently, Biamp's entire speaker line was to the high end, right? Our community line and some of our other speakers. But Biamp, had acquired a company called Apart, which is now 100% Biamp. All their products are Biamp products. And the issue is they had a whole nother series set of speakers that we can sell all over the world. But because it was a European company, it wasn't UL listed, right? So it wasn't certified for the United States and Canada. So what was happening is we do a lot of these really big paging projects. And to be honest, we were losing the speakers because we had very good solutions, but they just weren't cost effective. So now we brought in these other speakers that we've already been making. They're already tried, true, and tested, but they're now all UL listed and now available to our dealers. So we actually have 4 horns that we've started to bring in. And again, these are, on the economy side of the speaker side. So, when you're looking for that audio by the acre and you're looking for basic paging coverage, we have a very good solution here. And we actually have 4 of them. There's the H10. Now, again, we really worry about designing around spaces. And there's a really good news about that at the end of this. When we design spaces, we're always worried about what is the level that's there. We need to be 10 dB above that, right, in order for paging to be of any good. So part of what the difference here is how far we can project the horn and how loud it's going to be. So again, very important to know the space that we're doing the paging in, and that, we have horns that will give us the output we need. So if we start looking at the bottom, the little guy, so the H10G, this is a 1.4-inch voice coil compression driver. It has a response of 530 to 6.5K. And this has a 135-degree dispersion, right? So it's kind of close and wide, right, is the idea of this horn. Again, good sensitivity, 104 dB at 1 watt, 1 meter. And we have taps going from 10 watts all the way down to 0.625 watts. We then have an H20. Now, it's the same 1.4-inch driver. This guy is 490 to 6.7K as well. But now we're at 85 by 85 degrees. So now we're going to have a better projection, right? We're still now at 107 dB at 1 watt, 1 meter. So again, really good sensitivity. And this guy can be tapped up to 20 watts down to 1.25 watts, right? So again, a little louder speaker, a little further throw. We then go to the H30 LTG. So this is the longer throw, right? Very high output, wide bandwidth, voice paging, and signal horn. This guy has a 1.6-inch voice coil. But again, this is a single driver, right? High frequency driver only, so really geared toward paging. With a 60-degree by 75-degree dispersion, so again, a longer throw. And 106 dB, 1 watt per 1 meter sensitivity. And this guy taps up to 30 watts, down to 1.87. And then here's the biggest one of the line, which is the MPLT 62G. This is a full range, 2-way, long throw speaker. So this guy's capable of covering the gamut of things, whether you got background music, paging, and you need a long area to cover. This is your guy. This is a 6.5-inch weather-resistant cone with a 1-inch voice coil compression driver. Again, and this guy's really good, nice range from 150 hertz to 20K, 95 by 125 degree dispersion, and 106 dB sensitivity, 1 watt, 1 meter. And this guy taps all the way up to 62 watts, right down to 4 watts. Now, along with all the speakers, again, seeing this market as being very big and broad, We're trying to make sure they're very easy to install. So, you know, easy accessories like beam clamps, conduit box adapters, half-inch NPT conduit fittings, right, for hazardous applications. And again, here's the specs, right? And again, that MPL T62 is full range speaker, 150 to 20K. All the others are really good for voice. This is a great chart that kind of, and I guess we'll give this presentation out. Gotta find out how we do that. We'll get out to everybody registered. But this chart's really good. This chart will actually help to define where a speaker is applicable, because it's showing what kind of throw distance at what level we have. So when you're doing your designs, this chart, this single chart, will help you get through the whole product line to find the right driver. But why don't we make it easier than that? So coming out probably around September or October, you're going to see a new tool on the website. So if you guys are already aware, of course, we have our conference room designer, we have the classroom designer, and we have some other, you know, amazing design tools on the website. This one now is going to be the warehouse designer. So this is going to allow you to take that concept of just, hey, what kind of a space am I dealing with? And then let us figure out what to put in it. So you'll be able to design your spaces. There's, you know, whether you got forklift runs, how high your racks are, you know, the ceiling dimensions, sloped or not. And then we're going to turn around and give you back the speaker recommendations with heat maps, with plots, just like we do in our other tools. So this will be a very easy tool to hop into when you're doing those, you know, paging applications and just really come up with a solid design really quickly. Now, in the same market, you know, paging horns are one thing, and that's certainly what we see a lot in the paging world. But we also see a need for a lot of wall speakers, or, you know, again, inexpensive background music, paging applications. You know, we need to keep the budgets down. So not only does the speaker need to be inexpensive, it needs to be quick and easy to install and still look good. So in that market, we have our another line that we got UL listed and brought in, which is the OVO series. So there's an OVO 3 and a 5-inch, and the T means it has a transformer. So these are 70 volt or 16 ohm in bypass. So the 3T is a 6.3 inch by 4.2 inch speaker, good for mainly paging. But the 5-inch, you know, you'll get up to the point where you're doing really good for background music as well. Again, a 3-inch coated paper cone, 1-inch silk dome tweeter, 100 to 20K, sensitivities okay at 86, right? Again, get what you pay for, right? It's a decent speaker at a great price, easy to install, going to get the job done. Then we go to the 5T, right? Little better range, little better performing, but still, you know, again, that inexpensive audio by the acre. You know, I need to have paging and subtle background music in play. We have this guy. Now, another speaker that we have here is the CM10TB and the DC220T. So what's going on here is it's the same driver. So essentially the same speaker in two different form factors. They're both 70 volt or 8 ohm, and they're great for background music and paging. Now, I have a lot of faith in our community guys. And when we were getting the update from one of the Insight guys, Rich Belandro, he really raved about the speaker. And that means a lot to me. So, you know, it's a really good performing speaker at a really good price. So again, I would definitely look into these if you have that kind of application. This guy's a single driver, 5.5-inch driver. It's still punching from 120 to 20K. It sounds pretty good. We did have it playing at Infocom. It's got 145 degree dispersion, 94 dB, 1 watt, 1 meter sensitivity. Again, UL listed and taps from 10 watts down to 0.625. Again, is meant to be a paging speaker, right? Inexpensive, audio by the acre kind of application. But again, you got to cut the hole, you got to get the speaker in. Backhand comes pre-installed, right? So it's all UL listed again. But what if, you know, we're looking for speed and simplicity? We have the same speaker in a 2x2 form factor. So again, same driver, different form factor. So all the same specifications, but now a very easy drop-in 2x2 tile. And again, still rather short too, so it's not a deep speaker. What we did announce at Infocom was that coming in the third quarter, we will actually be releasing the same speaker in a metric dimension for the UK. And again, these will start shipping. Actually, these are shipping now. The metric version will start shipping Q3. And again, you know, $140 for the in ceiling and $190 for the 2x2 tile. DESONO speakers. Lots of good stuff happening here. So we introduced at ISE that we were coming out with a low profile 6-inch speaker. I'm glad to say they are already shipping. We had them at Infocom. I have a couple here. They sound tremendous. We make it in two versions. It's a CIC6 LP, which is the one designed to be used with our backpack amplifiers or mic interfaces, right? So they mount right to the back of the can. These guys are low impedance only. And just like the standard CIC6, they have either a CAT connector or a Euro block to terminate to. We also make the speaker, some ideas about the speaker. So the standard CIC6 is 5.9 inches deep. The low profile version is only 3.9 inches deep. Now, it is actually the size of an 8-inch speaker as far as the width goes. And the reason for that is we didn't give up any of the performance. By keeping the same acoustical mass, we got the same low end, right? We literally have the same response that we're getting out of the normal can speaker. So, and we consider that to be really important. Again, some other speakers we have, you know, we also make a DX IC4LP, which is our shortest can. That's actually 3.8 inches. And then the CIC6 comes in at 3.9. Oh, and actually, I forgot we have the CM series, which is actually a 3.3 inch. A little, I think, 5-inch speaker, 4-inch speaker. One note is a lot of our cans typically are shorter than industry standards. Like, so our standard 6-inch can is actually a little shorter than most 6-inch cans by nature. So that's the version if you're doing the bundles, right? You're using the backpack amps, using the whole CAT solution, right? Really good response with 63 to 20K, 87 dB sensitivity, right? Really good speaker, all UL listed. Now, what if we're doing a 70 volt system, right? We came out with the exact same speaker, and it's kind of weird because in the DX series, everything's a compression driver except for this speaker. So it's actually the same speaker, but in a low profile version with a transformer. So this guy can tap from 60 watts down to 7.5 watts. But other than that, the same speaker, same dimension, same speaker. Again, if you know people aren't familiar with the back of the DESONO speakers, as you can see in the picture, there's actually a CAT connector on our speakers. That is not a networked speaker. Our amplifiers are networked, and then some of them actually have a CAT connector for the low impedance output. And the only reason we did that is simplicity. So our install goes super fast. Everything's done with pre-made cables in those solutions, right? You take a cable, you plug it into the amplifier, you can daisy chain 2 speakers, you plug it into the first speaker, you then take a pre-made CAT cable, jump from the first to the second speaker, right? So they are not PoE speakers. And I actually like that because it means we're able to do up to 8 speakers off of 1 PoE run if you use our 4-channel amp. But again, just to note that you know, you have a choice of doing that, the CIC6 or the CAT on the CIC6. On the DX, it's a Euro block only, and again, it is a 70 volt transformer, and the knob is nice and big on the front. And by the way, all our speakers now are magnetic grills, so this guy included. Again, applications, they're pretty much interchangeable. You can use the DX wherever you can use a CIC6, to be honest. It's different connectivity, but it will meet the same features except for the amp mounting. So we do have people that just standardize on the DX series and use that in either application. The DX again, though, does add that 70-volt transformer, and the tap is in the front. Accessories, a lot of the same accessories that work on some of our speakers work on a lot of our speakers now. So just know that as we're redesigning all our cans and all our speakers, we are very much aware that we want to pay attention to the accessories and make sure we have minimal amount of accessories that meet, maximum amount of speaker models. So, for that, you can use the same grill that you use for DXIC8, right? So if you want the black grill, it's the same grill would be on the DXICC8 or the 6-inch low profile. And the same with the high humidity grills, the black grills, the 48-inch rails, right? They work pretty much across all our speakers now. Again, for all our speakers, we give all the information on the website. You can download the FIR filters. You can download, you can download ease from our website to actually build your speaker models, right? All that is free and on our website. And again, part of us using our speakers and our products is that, if you use our ALC amps, all the profiles for all our speakers in it are in it. So you open it up, you drop in the speakers, tie it to a channel, everything from the limiters to the EQs are all set. So again, just the whole idea that using our ecosystem makes it very, very easy to deploy. Just to recap, on the commercial side, we now have all these new speakers. So we got a series of 4 horns. We got the 2 wall mount speakers. Then we got the new in ceiling 5.5-inch speaker, which comes in a can or in the 2x2 tile. And then we also have the low profile speakers. Another big announcement was by fourth quarter, the DX IC6 LP will be available. I believe also the CIC6 will be available in TAA compliant models as well. So we'll actually have a TAA compliant version of our bundle, right? Because all our other products are made out in Oregon, with the exception of the speakers. And that's actually it. So we actually ran 4 minutes early. We were planning on 40 minutes. Any questions, drop them in the chat. Again, you guys, a lot of people in here will know me. Feel free to reach out to me or any of the Symco personnel. We're glad to help, do anything we can to help. We're here for you. No questions, Terrence? Terrence?
Hey there, I was on mute. No, it looks like we're good. They kind of came in as they were generated.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Thanks for joining. We're doing another one of these tomorrow morning, where we're actually going over some of the other new stuff that came out. A lot of that was tied to the UC area, right? So being both, having to do with the parlay bars, noise reduction, and some new products that are coming out in that market. So by all means, join us for that as well.
So Vin, one more thing is someone's asking, Mike's asking where they can find the recording. Will we be sending this out to them later on?
Yeah, I have to check with Lindsay, but I'm pretty sure since you registered, we'll send you an email with a link to the recording. All right, again, thanks everyone. It was a pleasure being with you today.
Thank you, everybody. Take care. Hey there.
I can't get my mouse.